Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lacrossing Barriers Podcast, brought to you by Anton Gasper Podcast and me. And I'm joined by Scott Godfrey of ED for Crossing Barriers.
And thanks, Anton. It is actually cool to be back on the air. We took a little bit of a hiatus. We have our guest today from Premier Lacrosse League's PLL Assists Program. And let's get interactive a little bit. And why don't you introduce yourselves? And let's start with you, Mr. Eric.
Hey, everyone. Anton, great to meet you. Thanks for having us on.
You bet.
My name is Eric Matthew. I'm the director of PLL Assists. I've been with the league for just about 3.5 years. Really excited to connect with you today. Pass it off to my esteemed colleagues.
Okay, we're going to do.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead, Haleigh.
Okay. I'm Haleigh. I'm a postgraduate fellow with PLL Assists. I've been with PLL since August, so going on 6 months now. And I do a lot of our diversity and inclusion and social impact related stuff. And I'll pass it to Aidan.
Yeah, my name is Aidan Skokin, and I'm also a postgraduate fellow with PLL Assists. I started back in May of 2023, and I work more on the operations marketing side of PLL Assists, working on our on-site and off-site activations.
Awesome. One more member of our team unfortunately couldn't join us today, Tommy Goldman, who's our deputy director, but he sent his well wishes and best regards.
Cool.
No worries.
You good, Anton? It's up to you now.
Why are you here today, Eric? And
yeah. Here today, really just to share a little bit about what PLL Assist does. Our partnership and relationship with Lacrossing Barriers is something that means a lot to me. I love the work that you all do, and anytime I get a chance to chat with Scott is always something I love to do. And again, love the podcast and really grateful for a chance to talk a little bit about our work with you guys today.
thanks for the comment.
Of course.
Okay, next question is, I think, on you, Anton.
Why you work for PLL?
Why do I work for PLL? That's a good question. Well, I grew up loving lacrosse. I think I first held a lacrosse stick in 5th grade, and first started playing for a team in middle school. Back then, I was a big hockey fan, and lacrosse was to me so similar to hockey in many ways, but also similar to basketball and soccer and other sports that I enjoyed, football, American football. So I just kind of instantly started loving the sport, and then getting to watch players like Kyle Harrison, who were championing diversity and inclusion in this sport, really inspired me to do more with it. So I grew up playing it, and then I spent several years coaching both men's and women's field lacrosse. And fast forward, I got a chance to interview with the PLL and further my career in diversity and inclusion, as well as law, and come work for the PLL and PLL Assists. And initially I got to work directly with Kyle on PLL Assists as we kind of started to see its growth as a league kind of propelled into what it is now. And I've been fortunate enough to, a year and a half ago, become the full-time director of PLL Assists. So I consider myself very fortunate to be able to work in a sport that I love and give back to the sport and help increase access and eliminate barriers to entry to the sport. So, all in all, I think lacrosse has given me a lot, and this is a way for me to do my part to give something back.
Great story.
I think you're up next with the question, Anton.
What do you hear about the power of Lacrossing Barriers?
Sorry, say it again. So, what have I heard about the power of Lacrossing Barriers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I first met Scott 2 years ago ish, maybe a little bit more, maybe even closer to 3 years ago. And I got to hear a lot about his life and the work that he does and why this is important to him. And that just instantly resonated with me. What I love about Lacrossing Barriers, first off, the title is fantastic. The name is fantastic, but I think you guys really live by that name. You're eliminating barriers to entry to the sport. You're allowing access to the sport in a way that might not otherwise be there for members of marginalized communities. And that's important, right? Lacrosse is a sport that, everyone who plays it, everyone who watches it, loves it for some reason or another. And I think we all kind of share a sentiment that we want to see the game grow. We want to see the game shared. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, obviously it's an Indigenous game that has been shared with us. And, we as a league and we as PLL Assists see a responsibility to continue to grow the sport and share the sport. So when you look at an organization like Lacrossing Barriers that does this work every day, it's an easy decision for us to want to align ourselves with and partner with an organization like that. I think you guys do something really special to be able to adapt the sport to make it accessible to anyone who wants to play it. And that's a mission that we can certainly get behind, and a mission that we want to share in with Lacrossing Barriers.
Perfect. So that's awesome. I'm up next. I'm going to openly out myself on this. Haleigh has access to the document, and I hate misspelling names. So thank you, Haleigh. I love you for correcting that.
No problem.
Just a little aside, I don't want to take over. I was born and moved to another country. So culturally, different cultures and different peoples. It's hardwired when you're born and learn to walk in another country, and the language spoken in your house is not what is done outside the house. So the whole idea of culture and name spelling. So there's 300 ways to spell Lynn, Annette, Haleigh.
I know. It's okay. I trust and believe. No one ever spells it this way first. So it's totally fine.
But when you see it spelled, it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. It makes
Right?
sense
Like-
once you see it, but why would you guess it,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
totally fine.
So my questions, Haleigh, for Haleigh first, what are 3 things we can do to make lacrosse more inclusive? And that's 2 parts. First, as a community, and then second, as Lacrossing Barriers.
Yeah.
3 things.
So tough task. One thing I think is just, access to like equipment is big, because we all know, as people who played or around the sport, lacrosse is an expensive sport. It's also a very specifically equipped sport, so it's not like there's transferable things. It's really just something you have to have everything for just your sport. I was fortunate that women's lacrosse only requires goggles, mouth guard, because I also played field hockey. So the goggles, mouth guard was already covered, but the stick itself is expensive. So getting sticks, getting goals. One of the initiatives that we do with PLL Assists is Goals for Greatness, where we send out goals to every state. And Lacrossing Barriers was one of our international recipients for last year. So I know that it's really important just to have those goals there, because it's not the same as most communities have basketball courts. Most of them have fields that they have, football posts or soccer goals, but a lot of people don't have lacrosse goals. So the equipping of the sport definitely helps with the access. So that's one, going to communities that are historically not represented within lacrosse, and teaching lacrosse, hosting clinics, really proponing and championing the want of lacrosse in those particular areas, I think is important, because it's not just going to happen to people. It has to be something that you get shown. And I'm just fortunate that I grew up in Maryland, so it's our state sport, and I'm half Canadian, so it's a national sport. So there's a relationship I already had to lacrosse that I probably, as a Black person, would not have had otherwise. So if it had not been just by virtue of my by my blood and then by where I lived, I probably wouldn't have been introduced and pushed to play lacrosse. So going to those communities and meeting people where they're at is going to be the second. And then third, doing something which I think that we do as a league very well and Assist does very well is really championing and showing how diverse the sport is becoming, by showing the pros, showing the people who have made some really great strides, and love Kyle. It's not just Kyle. So it's great to see the expansion of that go out to seeing like Trevor and Romar and Jules and Miles and all of them be able to sit at that round table and talk about it. And even Coach Nat as well, and just having someone on the coaching level. So I think the representation and showing that it's there all the way up through the pro level kind of really inspires people to want to get involved. So those are the three things I'll say just as a community. And then for Lacrossing Barriers, I think who does some of the best work in doing this is having the initiatives, having the programs, reaching out and looking to communities that might not have historically been represented in lacrosse, not just from a racial or cultural background, but also from a accessibility standpoint when it comes to like blind athletes or deaf athletes or those with physical disabilities. I think reaching out and having more than just looking to diversify it in the traditional sense, but also making sure that it's there and it's able, and that the power of lacrosse is shared, which I think is done super well by you guys. So yeah, that's what I know. That's kind of long-winded, but I hope I hit on everything that you asked in your question.
So a couple of things to encourage and correct you from an old man. Nothing's long-winded if it's true. You can write that down and put that in there.
I will write that down. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah, because, if it's relevant, please take this in the right way, in the positive way that we need to look at the document well. I know there's controversy about the Declaration of Independence. I know there is. But it started and is a point of conversation for things. Yes, and I only know that there could be 100 comments and things and trolls on the internet when this gets posted. But if you look at the positive of something, you look at Dr. King. Yes, he was assassinated, but he said positive things. So we can look at his death or we can look at his life. And I hope that comes across from a white Canadian blue-eyed male who actually is half Haudenosaunee, I found out when my dad was 50. So we can look at things that are like the long-winded. No, you said Winston Churchill said some amazing things in an hour-long speech that bonded a nation when tyranny and fascism and Nazism was literally crippling London, right? Or we can look what you said and go, yeah, let's go. Right? Yeah. That's why the windshield's big and the rear view mirror is small. And you can look at 1,000 1,000 preachers that have said that over the last since cars and windshields, right? So I love it. We actually are going to, the things you said, we are in the next 3 months going to make those, just so you know, we're going to make those priorities. That's in there. So I really, we need these things because it's easy to say, hey, this tastes good. I made pizza and it tastes good. But if you make pizza by yourself, eventually you get used to too much salt. So getting other people to say things. Okay. Let's look. Oh, Anton, sorry. I'm sorry, Anton. You're the next question.
No worries, Scott. What should we do with Adaptive and Inclusive Lacrosse Committee before doing the summer of the Los Angeles 2028 games?
Yeah, well, I think Haleigh hit a lot on the good work that us as PLL Assists is doing, as well as you guys in Lacrossing Barriers. So I think continuing to do all that work is very important for growing the sport, but also the storytelling of it. Sharing this, not just doing the work, but sharing the stories and sharing what the game can do for others and how it's impacted others, and doing that through vehicles like this, such as podcasts. And I think we do a good job at the PLL of showcasing the work we do and the stories of our players, like we saw posted yesterday, the Black Lacrosse experience, and just not just doing the work, but sharing how the game has impacted everyone for a positive.
Nice.
So I guess the next one is, when are you guys coming to Calgary?
We will be in Calgary at some point in 2024. You can mark my words on that. I don't know the exact date yet, but you'll be seeing us soon. You know, we love Lacrossing Barriers.
There you go. Just on that note, no matter where you're from, much love to Texas. But when you get beef raised at altitude and aged for 30 days, and if you're vegetarian or vegan, I fully respect your dietary decisions. But your tongue will give your mouth a concussion when you get here when it comes to a ribeye. That's a hard yes.
We're looking forward to it.
So, Aidan, who's your favorite indoor player?
I'd have to go with Lyle Thompson. He just plays the game so freely and so creatively. And I think he has so much respect for the game and its roots and where he came from. And it's just so interesting to watch him play and watch how he reads his defenders, and also listen to him talk about the sport and its roots. So Lyle has been a favorite of mine since his days at Albany.
Nice. Eric, favorite goalie.
Favorite goalie. Oof. Oh man. It's hard to pick one. I played goalie myself, and I know how difficult and as did Scott, I know how difficult and important of a position it is. So I have so much respect for all the goalies in every league. If I had to pick one, I mean, Blaze. Blaze is obviously phenomenal in our league. I know he doesn't play goalie in NLL, but just one of the most fun players to watch on the planet. That might be kind of an easy answer, just because he is the star that he is. But really, I've got so much admiration for every goalie who steps on a field at any level. So my kind of cop-out answer will be all of them, because I just have such a love for the position, respect for everyone who does it. So yeah.
Okay, Anton, you're up.
What do you want us to do the next 12 months to grow Adaptive and Inclusive Lacrosse?
What do we want to see you guys do next 12 months? I think you guys are already doing is expanding, which is huge. Having an impact in any given community is important. And I think what lines up with our mission, which is, very much what you guys are doing, is just looking to continue to grow. I know you guys are reaching out to, various parts of Canada, areas in Canada that haven't had programs like Lacrossing Barriers before. And on the PLL Assist side, we're doing the same thing. We're trying to connect with every state in the United States, but also with Canada, with all of North and South America. In Asia, you'll see again this year our players and led by Paul Rabel heading out to Japan to do a showcase there. We've connected with programs in several countries in Africa. So I admire what you guys are doing by continuing to grow the game organically and reaching new communities. So I'd say over the next 12 months, continue to do that. Continue to offer the programs that you do to people who either know and love lacrosse but don't really get a chance to play it because of environmental or personal physical limitations to lacrosse that you see at the college and pro level, but to be able to adapt lacrosse in the way that makes it accessible to everyone. It's really an incredible thing. I love watching the content that you guys put out. It always puts a smile on my face when Scott sends me the latest clip from one of your clinics, because it's special to see whether it's a young child playing for the first time or a teenager getting to take their game to the next level. It's really exciting to see the love that people have for the sport, and to be able to see it played in so many unique ways that are adapted to people's specific skill sets. So I'd say continue doing this great work because it is important, and you never know whose life you might be changing by creating an opportunity like this.
Before the next question, I'm just going to interject. I sent clips, and I will to you and Tommy and to Haleigh and Aidan and Tommy from a group. I walked into a clinic at a school here in Calgary, and a young boy came up and goes, "You're Mr. Scott. You went to Spruce Meadows, and we watched horses, and you had a Diet Pepsi in a bottle in 2018. I kind of stopped, bit the inside of my tongue so that I wouldn't weep in front of him, because then he'd think he hurt my feelings. I had not seen him in 6 years. He was like 8 inches taller, and he would come up and he goes, "You have new glasses." The next day when I did, he goes, "You have new glasses and your hair is shorter than in 2018. So when you say you never know who you're affecting.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So that's just a little aside. Anton, you can edit this out if you want later.
No worries, Scott.
But I remember once talking, and it was with Kevin Alexander, and he goes, yeah. So he goes, "So what?" He goes, "I'm the only black dude on the team." "Oh, well." He goes, "But I'm the only black lacrosse player somebody in England might ever see."
Yeah.
He goes, there's two edges to that. So the next question, I got to jump off the screen for a second. Anton, do you want to ask that next question? I got to just answer the doorbell. Live TV.
Who's your guys' favorite? Who's your favorite player in the lacrosse league?
Who wants to go first?
That's tough. That's a tough question. I'll go first because I think mine might be easier found. Mine's probably Trevor Baptiste, just because I've watched him for a really long time. I always thought the face-off was really cool. It's such a specific part of the sport. I thought the draw is also very cool in the women's game because it's so specific to the game. So just loved the face-off watching the men's game. Trevor's been good at it forever. It's probably, in my opinion, the best at doing it ever. So I used to watch him at Denver a lot. So seeing him in both box and field doing the face-off and being that good is pretty impressive. So I'll say him for my favorite.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw a little controversy in there, Haleigh. I've got 2 words to contract. A guy that I love, I've never met, but I will this year. Trevor Baptiste, Jake Withers.
We'll have to have some type of battle.
We're gonna go offline and yell at each other. And you got some Canadian content with Jake. You got some Canadian content, girl.
I know. All right. So I'll still hold him close to the heart.
No, but here's the deal. And, Trevor is one of the nicest men on the planet. And I just do that on a face-off factor because I know nothing about them. I'm just throwing something in the works there and just digging at you. No disrespect. It's Trevor is one of the nicest, most available, gracious men I've ever seen. Wow. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry, Anton. And everyone, I just had to throw that in.
Aidan, you want to go next?
Yeah. I think I would have to say Grant Ament. I worked with him with his own training app, the Players Academy, and he's done a lot of work with PLL Assists, doing our hospital visits this last season. And just watching the way he plays, he's not the biggest guy, but he finds different stick angles and different passing lanes that you can't even see them until he throws the ball and it's in his teammate's stick. So watching him play is really fun for me.
Yes, he has so much fun.
Yeah.
You can just, he's an intense. I wouldn't want to play Scrabble against him because I just think it becomes a contact sport instantly. And I love it. It's funny how when you talk to players and you talk to people that love the sport and you go, Grant Ament, yeah, like Trevor Baptiste, yeah, because they're nice guys too. They're just nice. And you can see them, they have fun. They're playing a game. They just, when you see them doing events, they're like goofing around and being silly with guys. And I just love it. I love the commonality when you get a group of people that are friends together or even on podcast. And there's like, yeah. So again, sorry, Anton, for interrupting, but
my zeal
for the
y'all
game.
Good.
For me, same answer that I gave with the goalies. It's really hard to pick a favorite. I love this league and all the teams and players on all the teams. But I will highlight, one player who I think is just super underrated in Romar Dennis. And, no secret, I'm a Redwoods fan. I love all 8 of our PLL clubs, but, from the start with my favorite all-time player in Kyle Harrison being a Redwood, I was just instantly drawn to them. So I'll mention Romar Dennis, who was traded to the Redwoods last year. Well, I also think of all the players currently in the PLL, reminds me of Kyle the most in his style of play and creating off of the run. He's as humble and kind a person as you'll meet. And also just a fantastic player, fantastic athlete. Excited to see him again in our Sixes tournament this year, where if you remember, he won MVP last year as a member of the Atlas. So yeah, really excited to see what he does for the Redwoods at Sixes this year at our Champ Series happening in February.
I do have to give Eric some props here. He predicted the Romar Dennis trade throughout the entire first half of the season.
I did.
He spoke it into existence quite literally. Every single weekend he would tell me Romar needs to be on the Redwoods. And
it happened.
Anton, who's your fave? Who's your favorite PLL guy?
Dylan Ward.
Great choice. I know Haleig's a big Dylan Ward fan too.
I'm a huge Dylan Ward fan. That's my favorite indoor player for sure. He's just an absolute insane goalie, field and box. It's crazy.
Yeah, when he plays at their arena here at the Shoresy Saddledome, it's pretty fun to watch him against playing the Roughnecks. He's pretty good. He's one of my favorite goalies growing up. Yeah, couldn't.
It's funny when the Mammoths play the Roughnecks and you get Delbs versus Wardo. It's like a slapping contest.
Yeah,
it's like show-stopping save, and it goes down show-stopping save, and they know each other. They're buddies, and you see them walk by each other during the TV timeouts and grab water and little fist bump, and they literally, oh, you made a freak save, I'll make one, and I watched the 2019 World Indoors and watched Dylan Ward a couple of times against Haudenosaunee in the final. And for a huge guy, he made a couple of arm saves. Like he flared up and he caught the ball and it went straight up, which means he timed it. It didn't block it. He hit it up, and it was against Lyle, and he's on his knees and he flared, and it wasn't one of those frantic saves. Like in all props, the goalie for Maryland last year, the freshman that had to come in and made those 3 show-stopping saves. Like you're like, what? Wardo looked at Lyle when Lyle shot, looked at the ball and went bam with a calculated save that was like catching an arrow. And like you said, the quietest guy on the planet. But I like his quote after the win. He goes, "I just love winning." when the Dogs won.
Yeah. Scott, do you have a favorite player?
Yeah, in the game today, Zach. Zach started and quietly has done, and I won't out his generosity on the podcast, but Zach does as much as any player in the game to grow the game quietly. He's got to learn to get along with Josh. The Courier Brothers videos are real.
Mm-hmm. It sure is.
He's also just, I've met him and he's become a friend. And we'll go when he was living in Calgary, we'd go for coffee, or he'd come over and to my place, and Anton and the guys would see him and we'd just have lunch. And his arms look like a roadmap of slashes. Like, all fairness to Mr. Rowlett, when he got hit by that shot, Zach's arms every game of the world's. He plays hard, and he also, I guess, because he's a friend. Goalies, I'm really conflicted because you got Wardo, you got Brett, you got Nick. I have a favorite on every team. Redwoods, it's Owen Grant. Just Owen Grant. So, yeah, and indoor, again, Zach, because I think he is the best two-way all-round lacrosse player in the world right now. See, I qualified that with two-way all-round. Because, I mean, I'm not going to put Lyle, I'm not going to put Romar, I'm not going to put Trevor at 1B. I think that's just silly. It's like saying, what's the best fruit? Anyway, and I say that respectfully, but yeah. Haleigh, who's the woman that if you had to show someone a clip of women's lacrosse outside of Charlotte North, who is the one that you'd say, watch these clips? And I'm trying to get older than right now in the AU. Who would you watch people watch?
I grew up absolutely obsessed with Taylor Cummings. She was 2 years ahead of me out of school, and like being from Maryland, her going to UMD 3 times in a row, it's Warzone winner. She was just insane. And I had watched her play when she was in high school and knew she was that good. And then she went to Maryland and she got even better. So if not Charlotte North, who I also think is phenomenal, Taylor Cummings is just a really, really great player.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that is when we go, and not, please understand it's not, but what some people, the casual fan, which we need to get real fans, that you get beyond the flavor of the month and the flavor of the year. And Aidan, I really appreciate when you said, I liked Lyle at Albany, because that's 8 years ago. And like, yeah, so that's just me. Favorite indoor player, Eric?
Favorite indoor player? Probably either Trevor Baptiste, who, is just phenomenal at what he does indoor and outdoor. And I think San Diego really got a gem in Trevor. And, we haven't mentioned Tom Schreiber. Tom Schreiber, in my opinion, is probably the greatest player on the planet, and just an incredible human being as well. So I'll give it to the two of those guys.
I, again, interjecting, I'm not trying to take over, Anton. Tom Schreiber he's not getting wealthy playing for the Toronto Rock, but he went to the indoor game to improve his global game. And when you see him on the field, he'll do a half step back and take contact. And that's why he is who he is because he went, I've got to play all forms of lacrosse and I got to do it year round to take my game to a level it can be.
Yeah, for sure. Also,
and I just, when you go ahead.
Yeah, someone else who doesn't get as much shine as he should in both leagues, maybe more so in our league in the PLL, is Latrell Harris. Also just a phenomenal player, tough as they come, and just an all-around great guy as well. So I would also add him into that top three for me on personal favorites for indoor.
Aidan, who flies under the radar in the PLL?
Well, I think he really had a breakout year this last season, but Mac O'Keefe, that guy he's the best shooter in the world, and I don't think there's really any debate on that. If you'll see guys, he was getting face guarded in the championship game because he's not going to dodge on you, but if he catches the ball, he can shoot it with you right on him. You just can't let him catch it. He's by far the best shooter, and I really don't think he gets enough credit for how good of a shooter he really is.
I'll throw in on best shooter as far as speed, creativity, like you said, just in and out of his stick. I would throw Josh Byrne in there right now. He's just, since the Sixes, he's just exploded. And another guy, when you have the roundtables, please understand, Anton, edit this. I will never criticize the PLL for being wonderful. I look at take it this way as a grandpa. I can look at my granddaughters and go, you are pretty. You're so beautiful. You can't be more beautiful than beautiful, right?
Uh-huh.
The roundtables, Dane Smith and Josh are two elite stars, and Latrell that could be around that roundtable when you guys have those talks with Nat and the guys.
I agree with you. I'll give you a little bit of behind the scenes info. We shot that during our PLL training camp, so the NLL guys were still playing.
Yeah.
So they weren't available when we shot.
And please understand that this isn't a criticism. It's a hey, because like you said, when you're talking about people of color, black, I just, sometimes the words, like someone goes, well, I tried to get out of when I tried to be nice and say people of color, and I looked at someone and went, oh, come on, man. Like, I'm trying. Like, come on. Like,
listen.
And then someone goes, well, you should understand about social change. And this is a Grandpa Scott rant on the podcast. I was born in 1963, Junior. Do you know what happened between 1968 and 74? You need to step back, kid. Yeah, I did say that.
Yep, we gave him a lot for.
You know what? And I think I even threw in a hard no at the end.
Hard no.
Oh, yes. So I think we have silly questions. Anton, I forgot to put these in, but if I can. So Eric.
Yes.
Hot dog. Is it a sandwich?
No, definitely not.
Okay. Aidan, worst lacrosse weather experience ever?
I wouldn't say it was bad, but so I grew up in Oregon. I went to the University of Oregon. We went to Colorado. It was snowing there. They put up a dome. A couple years later, I'm at Florida State doing my master's, still playing lacrosse. We go to Colorado. It's snowing. They don't put up a dome because it's a bunch of Florida kids that have never seen snow. And we ended up beating them in the snow. and it was some kids on the team first time ever seeing snow because they grew up in Florida their entire lives and had never seen it before. So a bunch of Florida kids going to Colorado and beating Colorado kids in the snow was by far the best and worst weather experience because I did freeze my butt off. but we won. So
yeah. Haleigh?
Yeah.
Weather.
Oof. I want to say it was like during a club tournament when I was in high school, and it was extremely hot. And I was talking to our goalie during like a timeout or something like that, and I went to lean to put my hand on the goal, and when I touched the goal, I like basically burned my hand, and it was so hot. So probably the worst just because it was stupid for me to do, and then my hand hurt the rest of our club tournament. So it was kind of a little bit of a rough thing that I did to myself.
Yeah. Ouch. Eric?
I don't think I ever played in anything that was too nutty weather-wise. I mean, preseason, both in high school and college, was just really cold. High school on Long Island and college in Lewiston, Maine. So as a goalie, not doing as much running around up and down the field, you felt the cold. And then I love playing on grass instead of turf. And throughout high school, I played on grass. So, it's a gift and a curse because I prefer grass as a general matter, but when it rained heavily, especially in the crease, it was a muddy mess. So it made it a little bit harder to track the ball, made the bounce shots kind of wonky and change of direction. But honestly, I appreciate all 4 seasons, and I enjoy playing games in the snow, in the rain, when it's nice out. I enjoy it all. So yeah, give me all 4 seasons. Give me the full lacrosse experience. I'll play in whatever weather. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Just a wide range of weather experiences.
For me, I got to play for the Quebec provincial team. A guy saw me with a jersey on or a jacket when I was going to university at Laval University, and I was playing in Victoria before there was clean. So Victoria, Waxman, and Seaspray, like we went 114-0 against like Mount Washington and back in the day MIB. And I'm there as this 19-year-old. He goes, "Do you play?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So every weekend we'd go down to the States. We go to Baltimore, we go to Utica, Ithaca, Albany. We'd play Hudson Valley Community College and Utica. And it was raining once in Syracuse when we played JV in 1983 on turf, and there was an inch. There was no drainage. And shots are coming, and I'm watching them skip over my stick. And I grew up in Victoria where it's, like you said, it's raining. Like Oregon, and just muddy. But I remember and the next day we're playing in grass, and I couldn't see my feet for like the second half. I was just sitting in mud up to above my ankles. And going, well, at least I'm cutting the angle down now, because if you did, like you said, if it skips on mud, you better be at the top of the crease.
Yep, exactly.
Last question about your favorite show, Anton.
What's your guys' favorite past and current show on
there is a Letter Kenny question
on TV or on the web?
There is only one true and good answer for this, and it is a tie between Letter Kenny and Shoresy, because Jared Kiso is a comedic genius. Those shows are fantastic. They're everything to me. And in Shoresy, in like the second episode of the first season, there's a big nod to lacrosse and pro lax, because one of the players used to play pro lacrosse, and it's just very funny. It's the greatest show ever. It's just good old Canadian hockey humor, and there's nothing better than that. So favorite past, favorite current show, Letter Kenny and Shoresy.
Beauty.
I think
that was
Go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead. No, I was
No,
just I could chirp about Letter Kenny.
Good. I'm yet to see it. My whole team is telling Aidan and me to go watch it. We will. That's our homework. But yeah, it sounds great, and I'll definitely check it out. But I'm gonna go with the classic, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That was my favorite show growing up. Love Will Smith, Uncle Phil, the whole crew. Just such a funny, lighthearted show that could also get deep at times. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I'll go with a little bit different answer. I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan. I watched it with my mom, and I've honestly probably seen it 3 or 4 times all the way through, which is a lot with hour-long episodes for about 6 seasons.
Glad you mentioned
I have a lot of time on my hands. I used to have a lot of time on my hands.
I'm glad you mentioned Breaking Bad, Aidan, because I just watched it for the first time. I just finished it a few weeks ago, and Evelyn was, shocked that I'd never seen it before. So I was like, you know what? It's time to see what all the hype is around Breaking Bad. I watched it, and it was phenomenal. Such a great show.
Not overhyped at all.
Not overhyped at all. Anton, what's your
Perfect? Anton, go ahead.
My favorite show is the Law and Order SVU series.
Yeah. Also a good choice. Very good choice.
We got a couple lawyers with Eric and Haleigh on the call, so.
Well, thanks everybody. This is Anton. You can take this. Like when I went to the site, I know at one point we were, but somehow when you go on the mobile site, Lacrossing Barriers isn't listed as a community partner. I didn't go on actually. I went to check because somebody goes, "Hey, I thought you said you were." One of our friends, and this is like one of our friends who's on the spectrum goes, "You said you were on the site," and I went mobile, and it's like. I forget who it was, Anton, one of our buddies, just put it in my, punched me in the mouth with it. I'm like, no, I can give you, what do you want? It's like, he's literally, you said. I was like, you're right, I did. I wasn't trying to be deceitful. He goes, get your facts straight.
You're right. I thought you were joking at first, but I'm looking at the website, which was just redone. And you're right. I don't